the actual application process. For those of you that participated in 2012, this will hopefully look very familiar to you. There's two parts to the application. There's part A, where we're seeking quantitative information from TEOs on their proposed delivery. It asks you questions and it asks you to outline your experience in a number of areas which I'll come on to. Part B is the much more technical aspect of the application form. It's an Excel spreadsheet and you'll be required to provide your proposed price, your volume and your delivery site for each of your qualifications. And it also asks you to say what type of provision it is, so whether it's generic foundation, education, ESOL, TEOS, or provision offered in correctional facilities. There's also a note in our supporting information on conclusion, which we want to draw your attention to. So part A then, the quality part of the application form. There's four aspects to the form. They all went up on Friday night, by the way, so hopefully we'll all have the opportunity to see them. If you haven't, they are up on our website. It's got four parts to it. The first part asks you to describe your experience in targeting and supporting the foundation learners. And we'll be looking at TEOS retention figures to help us assess and score TEOS applications. In capability and delivering foundation learning, again, it's an opportunity for you to provide some narrative about your capability in delivering and achieving learner outcomes. And we'll be looking at course completion data to support us in assessing applications. Again, there's a section on literacy and numeracy where it's an opportunity for you to describe your successes, your strategy, and we'll be looking at TEO's use of the literacy and numeracy assessment tool. And then lastly, there's a section on achieving successful outcomes for learners. So again, an opportunity for you to describe what you've achieved through your provision, and we'll be looking at TEO's progression rates as part of our assessment. So all the applications will be assessed against the TEC's vetted decision-making criteria. The vetted decision-making criteria are available in plan guidance, and we also provide more information in supporting information where we link those four quantitative aspects to the decision-making criteria. We'll be doing an eligibility check of applications, so we'll be checking that the TEO is eligible and that the qualifications are eligible. It's a two-stage process as we ran in 2012. So the first step of the process is the quality assessment, and as I said before, only providers that are successful in getting through the quality dimension proceed to the pricing dimension. So a little bit more on the stage one. We will assess applications on the basis of the information that you provide in your application form, and we'll be using TEC held TEO level and qualification level performance information. We will be putting the information that we will use to assess the applications up on TEO workspaces. We hope to get that up by the end of the month, and that will be the information we use, and it will also be information that I think you'll find helpful in constructing your application and read what qualifications you put forward to through this process and what price you propose to charge for it. So say TEO performance information will be released on TEO workspaces. If you have any questions about the data that we'll release, you can direct me through the service centre address. Stage 2 of the process is what we call the value for money stage. So value for money is determined both by price and by quality. Each qualification will get a value for money score, and then we'll, as a panel, we will look at all the qualifications that kind of meet our requirements in terms of quality and value for money. And we'll look to purchase a broad range of qualifications across the total level 1 and 2 funding pool, and we will also have a regional focus. So what that means is that when we're looking at a particular region, we won't just fund, I don't know, 100% of the courses in that area, all in horticulture. We want to make sure that there's a broad range of offerings to meet as kind of wider range of learner needs as possible at a regional level. And we will make sure that at a regional level that there is sufficient provision, not necessarily through the funding we've got available through this process, but across all of the foundational level funding. So that will be the non-contestable 1 and 2 funding and youth guarantee funding, for example. So by the end of the investment process in November, December, we'll make sure that each region has enough provision to meet its needs to the extent that we can with the funding that we have available. There will be a panel process which will make its funding recommendations to the TEC's delegated authority. So as well as making sure that there's a broad range of provision available on a regional basis, we will also make sure that across the whole of the SAC level 1 and 2 funding pool, so contestable and non-contestable, that we meet the needs of learners wishing to study TEOS, learners requiring ESOL, learners with special needs, and learners in correctional facilities. We've been asked quite a few questions about what we mean by learners with special needs, and what we mean within this context is we are aware of a very, very small number of providers that are providing special education to learners in whole cohorts of learners with complex learning disabilities, and they tend to be studying 1 or 2 particular certificates. What we don't mean is generic foundation learning, where there may be a 1, 2 number of learners within a classroom setting studying alongside other learners that might have special needs such as dyslexia. We don't mean that. We mean quite specific provision, and we do tend to know where that is and who's providing it. The time scales for this, I think we've announced in some of the supporting guidance that we put on the website, but to run through it. We've already got the we've got the plan guidance up, we've got supporting information up, we've got the application forms up. By the end of March, early April, we'll publish some more information on the assessment framework. We'll have your 2-day performance information up in workspaces. The last date that we'll accept questions on this process is the 22nd of April, and as I said earlier, all the questions that you ask get recorded. We don't say who's asking the question. We provide a Q&A up on the web space, up on our website, so keep an eye on that, and then you can see what others are asking and what information we've provided. The opening date for submitting your application is the 30th of April, and the closing date is the 7th of May. There's a 5 p.m. cut-off, so if you get your applications in at 5+5, you will be too late, and your application will not be assessed and won't be eligible to be considered through this process. We hope to be able to advise TEOs of the indicative funding allocations from the competitive pool by the end of June. That's a lot earlier than when we ran this process in 2012. That means that you'll go clear into the normal investment plan process, knowing what your indicative allocation has been through this process. Then you just go into the normal investment plan process. So we anticipate that all the investment plans will be submitted around July and August, and if you are successful in this process, you need to include your indicative funding in your investment plan in order for it to get formally approved as part of that process. By the 31st of October, if you haven't got it already, you need to have NZQA approval, and we should be able to make all the final decisions on the investment plans and providers be advised of their funding by November. So just a few words on the non-competitive SAC 1 and 2. So the remaining funding for levels 1 and 2 will be invested through the usual investment plan process. We expect to be able to provide the normal plan guidance, the initial plan guidance by April. The investment plan process will begin in May and June, and funding approval letters hopefully will go out in November. Because this is a competitive process, we are being very careful to make sure that TEOs are being given the same information, which means that if you've got queries or questions, your investment manager and other TEOs will not be able to engage with you on them. So you must direct your questions through to this email address. You can also sign up for TEC now and through RSS feeds to receive regular updates, and we'll provide all the Q&As on the TEC website. We will be putting this up on the TEC website by the end of the week, so you don't need to write all this. You don't need to write all this. You got it?
It is also available on our website. I have the email address. Yeah.
So I think I've said that the application forms are up, supporting information is up, planning guidance is up. There's also some further information on delivery in corrections facilities. We expect the Minister to issue his funding determination certainly by mid-2014, if not a bit earlier than that. We would like to commend you to look at ACO Edgero's a Foundation for Progression in Graduate Profiles work. It's a kind of seminal piece of work that's helped informed MOE's policy work and the TEC's kind of operations. So we heartily commend it and suggest that you read it. The high-level details of the assessment framework will go to the end of March.